to be honest, I can't consider Zhuge Prime as an endgame weapon. It can be used against high-level enemies, but it doesn't perform well against enemies that level scale to 140 plus. However, this doesn't mean that this prime crossbow is bad, it just needs some help from specific frames. There are frames that can boost its damage, like Mirage and Groma, but there are also frames that have a special connection with the Zhuge Prime. It seems like if you group a bunch of enemies together, with frames like VAUBAN, you will deal insane amount of damage. VAUBAN's Vortex and a well-modded Zhuge Prime can dish out insane amount of damage to enemies, whether their levels are high, or they have an insane amount of armor. It really doesn't matter, for as long as they are inside your vortex, they will always be helpless against the Zhuge Prime. Now VAUBAN isn't the only frame that can do this. We all know there are frames like Nidus or Mag that can group a bunch of enemies. However, VAUBAN's Vortex does allow Zhuge Prime to deal more damage compared to Nidus Link, and Mag's Magnetize ability. In addition, not only Zhuge Prime can be devastating when paired with VAUBAN's Vortex, there are actually a couple of weapons, and we will discuss that on another VAUBAN video, but for now, let's just focus on Zhuge Prime being added to those weapons that synergize well with this frame's fourth ability. So this is how I mod my Vortex VAUBAN for this synergy. It's a mix of duration and range stats. At first, I did add narrow-minded and streamline on my build. It was good, but I did have a couple of small problems. One is that when I'm doing long survival runs at MOT, I always have some issue with setting up my Zenistar disk. As you might know, Zenistar disk is a good counter against nullifier bubbles, which is why I always use it when playing with VAUBAN. The only problem is, VAUBAN lacks survivability at endgame levels, and I often get in trouble throwing Zenistar's disk. This is why instead of narrow-minded, I decided to put rolling guard to give me 3 seconds of invulnerability, which is enough time to throw the disk. Plus, I really don't need to have that much duration as I have perpetual vortex on my build. I just had Augur message to give me at least 21 seconds base duration on my vortex. On the other hand, streamline was actually good, but not until I faced a lot of leech units. The energy was horrendous that I decided to use prime flow instead. Anyway, I have arcane energize to help me max out my energy always, so I can cast my vortex. If you don't have it, then you can always rely on those 25 energy restores from orbs and your trusty Zenuric energizing dash. The other mods are pretty self-explanatory. Vitality for some survivability, while enemy radar and vigilante pursuit are for enemy pathing. Since Vortex VAUBAN always camps at long survival runs, we always need some enemy radar mods for enemy pathing. Not only pathing, but vigilante pursuit does give chance to my Zhuge Prime to improve my yellow crits to orange crits. This is my Zhuge Prime build, probably a hybrid critical and status build. I did choose to mod my Zhuge Prime like this because this weapon does have decent and balanced critical and status stats. There are actually 2 elements that I find really powerful for this synergy. One is the viral element that you have seen earlier. It does pair well with the innate slash damage of this weapon, dealing some devastating damage against enemies that are caught with your vortex. The other one is gas damage. This element combination is not only good against other factions, but it's specifically good against the Corpus. Since most of the Corpus enemies are weak against gas, this element is really a good choice against this faction. Aside from critical and dual status mods, I also added Vigilante further. Fire rate does help the Zhuge Prime's DPS, but that's not all this mod do to this build. It actually helps my Zhuge Prime achieve that 25% critical chance enhancement. All I have to do is add Vigilante supplies, Vigilante offense and Vigilante armaments on my range sentinel weapon, and I get the 25% critical chance bonus from the Vigilante mods. Remember, I did have Vigilante Pursuit on my VAUBAN, and you can actually hit 30% if you decided to add Vigilante Vigor on your build. Okay, now let's discuss my last mod choice for my Zhuge Prime build, and that is Hammer Shot. It's basically a personal preference, and this slot is probably a Riven slot. However, if you don't have a Riven yet, then I suggest you try this mod. Since Zhuge Prime has a well-balanced critical and status stat, it can benefit from both the status chance and critical damage that this mod offers. Also, since I incorporate lots of fire rate in my build, I am 100% sure that I can increase the DPS of this weapon with the help of Hammer Shot. So that's it. That's how you have some dumb fun with the new Prime crossbow, Zhuge Prime. Now take note, as I've said earlier, Zhuge Prime is not the only weapon capable of dealing tons of damage when paired with VAUBAN's Vortex. This weapon is just one, and there are a couple of other weapons that can do the same. In fact, they are better than the ZHUGE Prime. I have an upcoming video about an elite endgame camp of VAUBAN, and I will tackle some of those weapons that do amazing work when paired with Vortex. Also, I have an upcoming VAUBAN rework video wherein I will try to suggest some things that might actually make VAUBAN better, so be sure to check them all out. Lastly, I will be giving away one night's Prime access, and this giveaway will be hosted on our Discord server. If you have not joined our Discord yet, then simply go ahead to the description of this video to find the link to our Discord server. Thanks for watching. Squad Leader signing off.